Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Organic Let 5948 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for threatening my wife with divorce after she quit her job to be a Tradwife? I don't even know where to begin with this. Me, 34 male, and my wife, 33 female, have 2 kids together, 11 male and 9 female. Me and my wife have been together for 12 years and married for 8. Around a year ago, I noticed my wife increasingly sending me these Tradwife or traditional housewife TikToks. I have nothing against that type of relationship, but I don't think it makes sense for our current family situation. I do earn quite a bit more than my wife and enough to sustain our family on my own, but I don't see the need to do so. I work 80% and my wife 50%, and besides Wednesdays, where the both of us are working, either one of us is always home for the kids. I could work 100% and let my wife be a stay-at-home mum, but again, both of my kids are attending school, and in my mind, there is no need for my wife to be at home 24/7. She got increasingly pushy about it over the past 2 months, and again I just kept on telling her that there wasn't any need for that, and if we did decide to go down that route, what would she do during the hours my kids attended school? I knew damn well our house doesn't need to be cleaned for 6 hours a day. She would constantly try to butter me up with, you would have dinner ready every day when coming home from work, and something about unlimited blowjobs or some BS like that. Again, in the nicest way possible, I would remind her that our kids weren't toddlers, and our current work-life schedule allowed us to function perfectly fine. We got into a pretty heated argument 2 weeks ago about it, and my wife completely stopped having sex with me to show me what I'd be missing out on. She'd basically been treating me like a roommate since. I just thought she would get over it, and this was just a phase, but God was I wrong. I came home from work yesterday and saw a bunch of presents on the dining table. At first I thought they were all for me since my birthday was in a week. But then I saw the labels on them addressed to my wife. I read one of the letters attached to one of the presents. The last sentence on it was literally, "It was a pleasure working alongside you, and I wish you all the best moving forwards." I thought this was some sick prank. A few minutes later, my wife just casually strolled into the living room, acting like nothing was wrong. I guess she saw my mad expression and had the audacity to tell me, "You'll get over it." I just lost it. I just left without saying another word and went to my parents' house. I feel absolutely disrespected. Why the fuck would my wife think it was okay to just quit her job without telling me and just expect me to be fine with it? My wife has been bombarding me with texts and calls demanding to know where I am and that the kids miss me. I just told her to go and find a lawyer and that I was done with her, and then proceeded to block her. My son just sent me a voicemail crying and asking why I was divorcing mum and if I was leaving the family. And I guess that kind of broke my heart. I haven't responded and honestly don't know what to say to him. My mother-in-law has also been demanding that I return home and apologize to my wife. My parents also seem to be siding with my wife since they are traditional Muslims. My mum also used to be a stay-at-home mum. I feel like I'm wrong for immediately jumping to divorce without hearing her out, and besides this whole job drama, love my wife too much for this to be the end of our otherwise perfect marriage, but on the other hand, I feel like I completely lost trust in her. Should I just swallow my pride and let my wife stay home from now on, or should I follow through on divorcing her? How should I navigate this situation? Am I the arsehole here? Now, OP touched on the trust factor and once the trust is gone, and I mention this a lot in stories, once the trust is gone, what is there? To make a decision that's going to affect your whole family without any discussion, yeah, I can totally see why you lost trust, but what really stuck out to me through the whole story was the amount of manipulation that went on, withholding sex from you to show you what you'd be missing out on, and gathering family members to turn against you like that, your own parents as well. And the worst thing for me was getting your son. She's obviously gone to your son and told him all this sort of stuff as well, which shouldn't have been involved at all, and it breaks my heart that your son left you a voicemail crying, and I totally understand why that would break your heart, but you need to focus that she's manipulating you in that way, and I think that's absolutely disgusting. But Bird of Mine says, You don't just quit your job and then get presents from everyone. That happens when you hand in your notice and leave like a good employee. Meaning she handed in her notice at least a couple of weeks ago and has been quietly failing to mention that fact to her husband. She's had plenty of time to think about what she's doing and decided, fuck it, I just won't tell him until it's too late. You don't do that if you care about what your partner thinks. Chain Gun Samurai says in quotes, "You'll get over it," and says, "She didn't give a fuck about you, dude. Not one single solitary fuck. The only reason she wants you back at the house is because you'll be the one paying the bills, not the arsehole." Klingons ate my cheese. What a username. Says, "I have a friend who got really into the Tradwife thing because of TikTok. Then she went to a Tradwife meetup and found out that most of those Tradwives make a lot of money from being influencers and paid to have nannies and housekeepers so they can spend their time creating content, getting ready, filming, editing, all that. They are working and they hire help. They just don't tell their followers that. A lot of clothing, makeup, food, furniture, utensil brands pay them to use their products in their videos. More than a few bring in more money than their husbands, but make it out that they don't earn anything and their husbands pay for everything. Estee Williams, who that is, the famous blonde TikTok Tradwife, is one of them. She's a housekeeper. Almost everything in her videos is sent to her by various brands to use in her videos. She makes on average about $15,000 a month. After that meetup, my friend went back to work and stopped with the Tradwife lie, because the social media Tradwives are working already and are selling lies. Global Monk says, "If you had agreed on this, then it wouldn't be an issue. But she lied and tried to manipulate you into this, and that's what I have a problem with. She has no respect for you whatsoever. I'm a stay-at-home mum and I have school-age kids. One is disabled and so am I, so I couldn't work if I wanted to. I think my husband resents my free time sometimes, but it's spent hooked up to pain-relieving machines. It's not like I'm sunbathing, and our situ was a joint decision. Your wife, however, is taking the piss." Consider your children though. You need to talk to them and explain to them what's going on in an age-appropriate way, as at this point you don't know what your wife has been filling their heads with. Also fill your in-laws in on the truth in case she's twisted it with them as well. Make sure you keep in close contact with your children so they know you love them and aren't abandoning them, and then divorce your wife. She's shown her true colors and how little she respects you in your marriage. Now she gets to reap the benefits. So some additional information. Someone asks about Opie about their religion, and Opie says, "Thank you, but we aren't strict Muslims. Yes, we pray, etc., but we don't follow any of the traditional gender role ideologies. My wife tends to be a bit more on the conservative and traditional side, where I'm a bit more liberal. I mean, doesn't the same apply for Christianity?" Someone says, "Go back home." Opie says, "I told my son I'll be home by tomorrow. I'll just be gone for 2 days. There had to have been red flags earlier than this." Opie says, "I mean before, this is the only red flag I saw was her constantly just ignoring me if we had a disagreement, but usually that was maybe for a max of 2 days. This was the first time she did that for a longer period of time." Someone says the crux of the issue, and Opie says the fact that she'd be home relaxing isn't the issue. It's the fact that we now have to significantly cut down on our current expenses, and I'm not even sure if my company is willing to let me work 100%. The OP comes in with an update and says, "First of all, I just want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support I've received. I've received a ton of messages, but please be patient with me. This week has definitely been tough on me. This whole drama has definitely taken a toll on me physically and mentally." Then shares the original post and continues, "I just want to add a few crucial details that I missed to mention in my original post. I suffer from a genetic heart condition that puts me at risk to stress-induced cardiac arrest. I used to work full-time but was forced to cut down on my work after suffering a silent heart attack. This was nearly a decade ago, but since then, I've worked on my own physical and mental well-being. Some people didn't understand me constantly mentioning why it was such an issue working the extra 20%. I honestly don't know how much time I have left, and my kids are the most important things in my life. For my own mental health, it's essential that I get to spend time with my kids throughout the week. Besides my wife and kids, I have nothing. I hate my fucking job and purely continue for the sake of my kids and wife." Well, after spending a day at my parents' house, eventually I felt enough time had passed for me to gather my thoughts on everything. What she did seemed like the ultimate slap in the face, but I went back with the intention to resolve this and didn't want to escalate this fucking nightmare. My wife seemed happy I returned, but wasn't apologetic at all. The kids, especially my son, were ecstatic. That sort of made me ignore the lack of remorse for the time being. That same night after putting my kids to bed, I told her we need to have a serious discussion. I told her how I felt about everything she did. The fact that she knows about my health condition and still went through with it. The fact that I set clear boundaries and she still chose to quit her job without my consent. How the fact that she told my son that I was going to abandon the family really felt like a stab in the back. How throughout all of this, she didn't even seem remorseful once. The fact that she chose her own happiness to the detriment of mine. The fact that I sacrificed so much for the family and I got repaid like this. The fact that we now as a family have to make major lifestyle changes, since a third of our family income vanished. For a split second, I saw an ounce of sadness in her eyes before she went right back to being annoyed with me. I then simply told her to lay out her half of the story. Here's a summary of what she said. She felt ignored by me constantly rejecting her proposal. She had worked long enough, and this was finally the time for her to enjoy her life as a true wife. She also said that I was being a baby about the whole spending extra time with the kids thing. That really pissed me off, and we ended up getting into a heated argument. I couldn't bear any of it anymore and just ended up sleeping in the guest room. Until yesterday, nothing changed. She constantly tried to play everything off and wanted to embrace her new role by constantly trying to have sex with me and by making me my favorite dishes. Just felt like she was trying to manipulate me again, and I wasn't having any of it. I just kept on sleeping in the guest room. Well, my birthday was yesterday, and after work my wife and kids picked me up and we ate dinner together. This was probably the first time I genuinely had a smile on my face in a week. But that smile vanished because she tried to seduce me again later that night. I rejected her, and to my surprise she had a full-on mental breakdown. I just held her as she started apologizing for what she did. She claimed she didn't understand how much she hurt me. She was sorry for making me feel like an afterthought, etc. We ended up sleeping in the same bed yesterday. I felt like things were finally moving in the right direction, and I again asked her about searching for a new job today. Instead of getting mad, she just replied with I need to think about it. Yeah, that's where things are as of today. It feels like progress is being made, but I don't know. This might just be another manipulation tactic of hers. I'll probably make a final update in a month or so. Reddit isn't doing my mental health any favors. How would you guys move forward in this situation? Could I have done something better? Is she being genuine? And to those incels who constantly bring up Islam as a way to justify her behavior, please shut the fuck up. Commenter says, if you're still questioning things at this point, respectfully take your fucking head out of your ass. OP says, I guess you're hinting at divorce. Let me make it more clear for you. In our culture, divorce is the last resort and extremely frowned upon, and especially if there are kids involved. I want to fix this. If she shows no improvement after I've tried everything, yes, then I'll go for divorce. Someone says she's not even being a good tradwife since they are supposedly meant to put their husband's needs ahead of their own, but she's definitely putting her wants ahead of your needs. It sounds like you really need couples counseling. OP says she believes my needs solely revolve around sex. That's the problem. And in a different comment, OP says, she has always been like this. She fucks up or wants something from me, equals trying to fuck me 24/7. A commenter says, when she came to you with her issue, what did you do to help find a solution? OP says, I constantly told her she can reduce her hours if she wants. That's fine with me. Being at home 24/7 without my consent is where I draw the line. And obviously, this one isn't over for OP just yet. I had the same thoughts as OP. Is this just like another manipulation tactic when she started breaking down? Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, of course, but with everything else, the pattern of manipulation that went through in this story, it certainly felt like it to me. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts. What would you do if you was OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Chemical Bicycle 793 and says, I'm very disappointed in my husband. My marriage has been struggling for the last year. I, 32 female, have been married to my husband, 33 male, for 6 years. Together for 8 years, and we have known each other for over 20 years. My husband is extremely accommodating. He doesn't help me with any household chores, even though we both have the same work day. He stalls until I lose patience and do it myself. This took a toll on our relationship, as it is stressful to take care of the house and my daughter alone. and also collects socks and shirts that he scatters everywhere. Now, what was the last straw? We don't have a car and we needed to go buy some things. I'd planned the day to do it in the morning and he would go with me. I woke up and did several tasks while he stayed on the couch. I didn't say anything because it was his day off. When we were close to leaving time, my father-in-law called and asked for a favor. He got up and said he would help him, it would be quick, and that our father-in-law would give us a ride afterwards. Okay, it wasn't our plan, but I can wait another 2 hours to go. My father-in-law is a hustler, lives off freelance work and is supported by his mother, my husband's grandmother. He never works and always takes money and never pays. It's a mess. In addition to always making inappropriate and false comments, he's a narcissist. That's why my mother-in-law divorced him. Well, 3 hours later they arrive and I get in the car. My father-in-law asks why my daughter, female 4, didn't go to school. I said that I let her miss it because it was just a play day and she asked to go shopping with me. And he simply says that I'm lazy and I didn't want to take her to school out of laziness. I'm committed to going to the gym, but I should have the same commitment to school. He was rude and accusatory, as if he was recriminating me. I felt my blood boiling in my veins. Firstly, because I do 1,000 things a day. I barely have time to rest, and secondly, because my father-in-law is the laziest person I've ever seen. He's never worked in his life. I took a deep breath and tried to control myself because I wanted to curse him. I looked at my husband waiting for him to say something to his father. Anything. He did not say anything. He didn't defend me. He didn't even try to explain anything. What did I expect? Him to fight? No, but for him to at least say, "Don't talk to my wife like that," or "That's not true." This is not the first time my husband has failed to respond to someone in his family who says something inappropriate. He says it's better to avoid a fight, or that's just how they are. Oof. And on that day, all our marital problems kept playing in my mind. I was very disappointed and I can't look at him any other way unless I dislike him. I've been fighting for my marriage, but I feel like he isn't fighting for me. And now I really want to file for divorce. I'm hurt and I'm afraid I'm overreacting because of this. And we'll start in the comments with Boring Clothes, who says, "In terms of freeloading, it sounds like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with your husband and his father. I'd find it incredibly hard to stay attracted to and maintain respect for someone so sedentary. He doesn't express any desire to contribute towards your household, the care of your child, and is so complacent that he isn't willing to stand up for you. If everything is down to you, what would you lose without him? If he stalls until you give in and take over his share of responsibilities, what is he actually doing that you couldn't do yourself as a single parent? Or how is your situation now any different to being a single parent? If anything, the only thing you'd be missing is the constant resentment that arises when you're consistently made aware that you're in a partnership where you're giving everything and receiving nothing back. Sharing custody would, ironically, mean that you and your partner would have more equal caring responsibilities over your child than you seemingly currently do in your marriage. If you haven't expressed these issues to him and how close you are to calling it quits, now is the time to share. If you've already tried to no avail, then maybe it's time to start thinking about the logistics of ending your marriage." I think that comment pretty much summed it up, really. That this resentment is building, and you're at the point where it's spilling over now, and he needs to know this is it, that you are going if things don't change. If you're even willing to go down that path anymore. Opie also said that the husband was accommodating at the start. I assume they meant not accommodating. But Opie comes in with an update and says, "A few weeks ago I made a post about my marriage. Well, this is an update. I'm going to file for divorce. Since I wrote here, many things have happened, but long story short, I told my husband it wasn't working for me anymore. I asked for time to put things in order. He didn't respect my space. In a few days he got sick and ended up staying at home. He was at my father-in-law's house, and he was sleeping on the couch. He asked us to go to individual and couples therapy. And he said he didn't want to lose me. Well, a few days ago, my brother-in-law came to visit me and they were talking about our marriage. I'm not proud to say this, but I overheard part of the conversation. My husband said he was trying to get back to being intimate and that he intended to get me pregnant, knowing that with another child, I would never leave him. My brother-in-law laughed and said we'd have to pierce more condoms for this. I don't take birth control at the moment and we're using condoms as contraception. I'm so angry that I've barely been able to look at him the last few days. I've been avoiding him and honestly, there's no more time to fix our marriage. How could he be capable of something like this? I feel deceived and manipulated in ways I can barely explain. He still doesn't know that I heard, and he doesn't know that I'm going to file for divorce. Gee fucking whiz, that is terrifying. Get yourself out of that situation. Oh my word. Don't let that dude near you. Grandma's Villa says, read your original post and think you are doing the right thing to divorce your husband. Don't tell him anything till you're ready to serve him the paper. Make sure not to get intimate just in case. He and his family seem to have no hope of changing in the future, so get out ASAP and live your life. Focus on yourself and your child and start planning for a new life without the dead weight on your back. You're going to be a good role model for your daughter for her future. Wish you all the best. Careless Banana said your husband agreed with the idea to sexually assault you to keep you in the marriage. Avoid intercourse if possible. Keep your plan close to your chest until you're ready to serve. Tell someone you trust if you're able of your plan in case you need support. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.